what we always talk about is these dot vibes that we train our team or that we look for. But you need to also be considerate of how can I position this in a really positive way that doesn't close the door down the road or doesn't give them an icky feeling. Like, it's all about communication, and it's hard to train and teach people that, but you need to make sure that you're putting yourself in the shoes of a client and still allowing that door to be open so that you can continue to add services. Because maybe you can add services to the scope and you can increase the revenue for this client. And that's an amazing opportunity.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
Welcome back to another episode of the Happy Clients Podcast. Today, you are joined just by Katie and myself, and we are excited to dig in. And today we have a very special episode. We often will put it out to our audience and ask, like, what can we help you with? How can we serve you? What do you want to know about? And the lovely Tyler came back asking for us to speak about boundaries and how to say no to clients and things like that. So we're pretty excited to talk about this.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we get asked about. I know, Taylor, you talk about it sometimes just through the sales process and getting people sort of, I guess, in the know about what a client account manager does and how to sort of push those boundaries back if needed, or kind of what's in scope. So it's always something that we're talking about. I'm always talking to CAMs about making sure that they're, not overdoing it and doing things that they're comfortable with and knowing who's on the team to go to if something kind of comes up. So definitely a great question and something to discuss, as it's talked about all the time inside agencies.
Yeah. And I think we are people pleasers as account managers, so it sometimes can be tricky, but there are some key things that we want to talk about today that are really important. And again, if you are new here and maybe you're an account manager, or maybe you have account managers on your team, you can learn very deeply into our best practices inside of CAM School. So we'll link all that below as well if you're looking for additional training and additional support. So let's get into today's episode.
Just on that note too, and why this is such like a hot topic is like, it's in CAM School for a reason, right? Like, CAM School is sort of this really great training program that teaches you all the things about being a really awesome client account manager. And this is definitely part of it, because we are the person kind of faced with the questions and getting asked to do things, and we're the go-to dedicated person. So it's something that we should definitely cover in CAM School, because it's a very real part of sort of the day-to-day CAM life. So excited to dive in. And I think starting off, Taylor, what is kind of the go-to best practice about even saying, I don't want to say saying no to clients, but kind of setting those boundaries? What do you kind of always do with CAM life and setting those boundaries?
Yeah. So firstly, I think the most important thing as an account manager is to understand the scope for each of your clients. And because you are the person who holds all of the information, you're not only talking to your clients, but you're also the one who needs to know where all the projects are at. You need to know everything. So it's important to understand what it is that you've agreed upon to work with this client with, what they've paid for, and what would be considered out of scope. So for example, if you're working with an e-commerce brand and you're running their Facebook ads, for example, and you know that creating additional creative is going to be out of scope. Like, in the expectations, the client is to deliver all of the creative. If the client is asking you, hey, like, can you guys just create this for me? Or can you just do this? It's important for you to say, okay, you know what? That's a trigger. That is something that's out of scope. And then I need to communicate this properly to my clients. And Katie, I'll kind of toss it back to you, but I guess how you communicate that is really important as well. So what are your best practices?
I think it's almost sometimes a little bit sneakier than that. Like, I know talking to client account managers every day, like sometimes clients will say things like, and who should do that? Who should be responsible for that? Or that's a great suggestion, team. Do you think you could do that? I feel like there's always those sort of I don't know what I'm doing sort of questions. So can you help me out? And I think those actually are really tough to communicate against, because often we are that help. Some people are very green to marketing, not used to Facebook ads. So having that sort of delicate balance and setting that boundary up really carefully might be a good way to put it. I'm always telling people to communicate what is in scope. So, this is definitely something we can do for you. It's not quite in our scope, but why don't you talk to the sales team about adding it to the scope of work that we're doing for you? That's a great answer. And I think that's well within like CAM responsibilities. I know we do get asked sometimes, do you guys ever sell? Do you upsell when you're on calls? And I think that's actually kind of our best practice. Sure, we can do whatever you want. Just sometimes it's in scope of work and sometimes it's not. And if it's not, we'll actually point you in the right direction and get you a price on that. Not a problem. So I think it's good to put that back into the internal team. But if you want to put it back on the client, you know what? Make that image in Canva will take you 3 seconds. You can go ahead and do that. Just send it our way when it's done. Here are the dimensions, maybe a couple helpful hints. Send it our way when it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's all about how we always say, train your clients. But if clients are, asking questions and they say, oh, like you said, Katie, oh, can you just do that for me? Or can you help me with that? You need to always just remember that, like, we can't do this once because then it's an expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you, really confidently and politely and professionally communicate that? So it's like, okay, oh my gosh, I love that idea, Betty. Like, I would love to help you with that, but based on kind of the scope and what we have allocated here, like, we do need you to go out and create it, but I'm going to send you some examples. I'll send you all the dimensions. I'll send you everything that you need. And then if you run into any questions or concerns, just shoot me a message and I'll get some additional resources for you. But, spinning it in like a really positive way is like the most important thing.
And then even in a way that will work for the agency. So you're right, Taylor, all those things. And like, I'll give you these dimensions and then you can be all set up for success for when we start running Facebook ads, when we start your marketing. So we just want to make sure you're on the right track, but definitely balls in your court. I think it can be that balance of, I really want to help you, but it's going to take me 3 hours. You might have an admin assistant or you can do it yourself, somebody that could help you. And then it's not kind of pushing the scope or taking away from those initial sort of marketing tasks that we decided upon. So I think it always is in best interest of the client to help out where needed, but you're right. Once you start doing it, you'll probably never stop. We've sent like demo videos before. So like, build this out in drop funnels, do this in ClickFunnels. It's a quick duplication, no problem. You should probably do that since you're in there every day, and then let them do it. And it usually gets accomplished.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I was chatting with an agency owner yesterday who has a team member, and she finds that this account manager isn't almost like leaving the door open for future growth with the clients because she's coming in and saying, no, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. And it's how you approach it too. Like, what we always talk about is these dot vibes that we train our team or that we look for, but you need to also be considerate of, how can I position this in a really positive way that doesn't close the door down the road or doesn't give them an icky feeling? Like, it's all about communication, and it's hard to train and teach people that, but you need to make sure that you're putting yourself in the shoes of a client and still allowing that door to be open so that you can continue to add services. Because maybe you can add services to the scope and you can increase the revenue for this client. And that's an amazing opportunity. So make sure when you are saying like, this isn't quite in scope, but let me try, and I'll chat with the team, kind of come back with what this pricing would look like. It won't be too much to add that on. Like, that's a really great opportunity for the agency. So make sure you keep that top of mind.
Yeah, it's like being the low key yes person, right? Like, you're saying yes all the time. You're a client account manager. Yes, we can do that. Sure, no problem. Let me do that for you. Let me get it to you. But like, sort of when it's not in that scope, you have to be yes, but with a solution. So low key yes person. And just really helping them out where you can, but also setting up that pattern. Like, this isn't in our scope of work. We're happy to add it to your bill, get it going. And we have people in place to do that. But right now it's not within scope. So I think that balance of yes and boundary setting is probably really, really key in these situations.
I really like how you said low key yes plus solution. So it's a, yeah, we can help, but it's going to probably cost a little bit more. Or we can't, like, just being honest and really professional.
And like on the other end of that, like clients are all the time, like, how's this ad working? Well, let me just go in Business Manner and check it out. That's yes, I'll do that. But why don't you set this funnel up so we can test it out? It's like, well, not really what we're here for. Or maybe it is. You just have to kind of look at what that scope looks like.
Yes. So as a recap, understand the scope. You need to know what you're responsible for, what you're doing for this client. B, understand where the opportunities are outside of the current scope. Maybe you can upsell, maybe you can look for opportunities to increase the revenue for the agency. That's a really awesome opportunity. C, make sure you're setting these expectations in a really positive way, being low-key yes person plus solutions, and always being client facing first, making sure that they feel supported and that you're not just, brushing them off, and ensuring that you are there to support them.
Totally. And I think this is something that comes up. So having these really honest conversations with your team is definitely beneficial, because it happens more times than it doesn't. So having your team prepared is key.
Exactly. Well, thank you for listening into another episode of the Happy Clients podcast. If you're looking for more support when it comes to training or support, head over to thecamschool.com and we will see you over there. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to happy clients.